I'm gonna start going live here. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you just finish the movie, Ian?
Yeah, like 10, 15 minutes ago.
All right, cool. I'm gonna start.
Is that better, by the way, Bruno?
Yeah, we can't hear anything, so it's certainly better. Certainly a lot better. Let's see. Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, since I've already got the chair, I've been thinking about a standing desk.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a couple of good deals on like just the mechanical legs.
Mm-hmm.
So we got one for
make one or try and come up with your own thing.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of like interesting solutions. I've seen good deals for them though, with some like slick deals where it's just the mechanical set and you attach your own tabletop. So I'd be able to reuse the current topper I have.
Okay, that's good. Because I mean, I know some of the really expensive ones you put on top of your desk, like a Veridesk and stuff like that. And those are like super heavy and expensive. And you know, I think the stuff where you like attach the top to a topper are always really interesting to me.
Yeah, the ones I've seen were like $200 on sale.
Mm-hmm. Is it like a crank or is it?
No, it's a full electric.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's got a hydraulic in there. We got one for Emily in like June of last year because the desk she had was not doing it for her. Mm-hmm. And it's been a world of difference for her, I think. She's nodding affirmatively.
All right. So let's talk Mortal Kombat. So what did you guys think of the movie?
It was fine. Like it was a cool movie for someone who, you know, grew up playing the video games and like just have fun memories of playing those with friends. And then it just kind of felt like a good homage to that. But like as far as like a gripping piece of movie, it wasn't.
I would say the first 7 minutes were a movie I was definitely very interested in. That then the rest of the movie is not that. I would say that I agree for the most part that as someone who really enjoyed the video games, they did their best to imagine how the super moves would be, like, you know, all the different like reimagining of stuff. Like I thought it was very creative, you know, and just doing the fatalities and all that. Like this was a love letter to the games. And for that, I appreciate it. But I also now am torn at the end product because I feel like this movie, there was a movie that was teased basically in the first 7 minutes that I feel like wasn't delivered on.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the first 7 minutes, the history of Sub-Zero and Scorpion is very gripping stuff, but we don't really like, you know, and even the movie poster is Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Yeah.
This isn't a movie about Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Like it's basically the very beginning of the movie and the very end of the movie is Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And even then it's like barely that. And I feel like there is a movie with a much better heart to it that ties to those first 7 minutes better in there somehow.
Yeah.
And part of the problem might just be the fact that the lead character of this movie was kind of bland overall.
Yeah, for sure.
He's the only original character, right?
Yeah, I didn't understand too, is why make him an original character when you have so many Mortal Kombat characters you could have him be. And then to give his superpower to be literally plot armor.
Yeah.
Is And then to have him not really, I think even his Goro fight, he didn't win on his own either. He didn't win a single fight in the whole movie, really.
He won the fight against Goro.
Yeah, but with the help of his wife and kid.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
So like, I almost like, I don't know if I hate that or if I love the fact that the main character actually never really is able to win a fight on his own. Like part of me kind of,
It's like Pokemon.
yeah,
Like Ash Ketchum actually sucks.
yeah. And so like part of me like actually kind of is like, you know what? I wonder if they literally gave him plot armor, like if it was supposed to be a joke to be plot armor for him to have that ability. But
The one joke that I picked up was when Kano is fighting Kung Lao, and Kung Lao just keeps throwing the same low kick.
yeah, that's
just
right.
like repeatedly. He's like, "Is that the only move you know?"
I think that
Like-
might be Liu Kang, isn't he?
Or
Fighting?
yeah, it might have been Liu Kang.
Yeah.
No, but that was entertaining. I mean, it's stuff like that. It's actually very entertaining. I'm like, okay, this is clearly people who love the games.
Yeah.
I just kind of, part of me wishes the fact that like they put in so much work into realizing the backstory of, and this is like the original lore too, is the rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, like comes from, Ed Boon and John Tobias, and even to the point of like using their original names, Bihan, who's the first Sub-Zero.
Right.
And
I mean, I thought there were good details.
Yeah.
I think for a game that's never been super like forward with lore, this movie did a good job of taking creative liberties and representing the characters in such a way that made them originally appealing, right? Because like for the most part, you had like supplementary material that like promoted these characters. So like there were a couple of Mortal Kombat movies in the 90s, but like if you just sat down and played the game at your friend's house, you really didn't know much about the characters. So
Right.
like you mostly had to pick it up from like subtext, and then only later on when they started adding like story modes and like Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and things like that, were you able to like get a little bit of like an idea of what a character was and like get some kind of like backstory for him.
Yeah. Part of me wonders that like, if Ed Boon and John Tobias were involved in this, like maybe we would have gotten a little bit better story. But, I guess like to me it's there's maybe I just feel like there's a bit of a waste of potential because Louis Tan is so good. Like he's an amazing martial artist, good physical actor, very charismatic, and I just kind of feel bad that his character was just kind of dull.
Is that the main character, Louis Tan?
That's the actor, yeah. He played named Cole Young.
What else is he in?
So he has also been in, if I remember right,
Is he a real martial artist?
yeah, he's really good. I think he was in Deadpool. He was Into the Badlands. Trying to think what else that.
But he's not a fighter though, right? Because I don't know him. What like how
I
is
don't think he's an MMA fighter. He might be a
No, he's
a
just
martial
really good
artist.
stuntman, but a really good martial artist.
stuntman?
It's like while you might not have like seen him actually do like MMA fighting, he himself is like just a really fantastic martial artist, very knowledgeable. Yeah, and like it's just, like I said, like, there's so many things I'm torn about. Like I love the fact that this movie employs a lot of actors that you don't see a lot, but who I love from some of my favorite like Japanese and Chinese movies, like Tadnamo Asano, who is I believe Raiden, is in one of my favorite movies of all time called The Taste of Tea.
Is that a Japanese movie?
Huh?
Is that a Japanese movie or Chinese movie?
It's a Japanese movie, and it's such a good movie, and like he's a really good actor.
The guy that played Scorpion seemed very familiar.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Where's he from?
Did you ever watch Lost?
Yes.
He was in a later season of that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's because I only watched the first season of Lost.
Um,
Sure, I've seen him before though. I think he might be in like The Last Samurai or something like that.
oh yeah, he was. Wasn't he the villain?
Scorpion, the guy that plays Scorpion. I didn't look it up, but
Yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada.
I'm, I'm sure I've seen him before.
Oh, I think yeah, he's the one who teach. Yeah, he's the teacher in The Last Samurai.
Oh, he's the guy that's basically beating up Tom Cruise so he can learn. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
he's
Now,
really good too. Like,
and he's a little bit older now. That's why, like, yeah.
and
Yeah.
again, this is why I was a little bit sad because like this is a guy who you should use more. I mean, he's so impressive, and they had to bring him back obviously for the final fight.
And that movie is fantastic. I've watched it not so long ago, The Last Samurai. But okay, we're talking about Mortal Kombat, but that's why one of my favorite movies of all time. And he's a great character in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like the cast is actually like fantastic. I just
I don't know anybody else, to be honest. I know that guy, and I don't think I've seen any of the other ones before.
I've seen Makad Brooks a lot. He used to be on Supergirl.
Which one is that?
He was Jax.
Jax?
Yeah.
Supergirl? Oh, I haven't seen that show.
Um,
Yeah, I think I've only seen the Japanese guy before. I'm not sure I've seen any of the other ones.
and Joe Taslim, who was Sub-Zero, is from The Raid.
Oh, The Raid. That's a good movie, right? I haven't seen it yet.
You should. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
It's got one of the most famous fight scenes ever. That it's just the one continuous shot. It's just fantastic.
There was something similar to that. I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure you probably have, Dan, The Protector.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that scene where he's in that like parlor and he's like working his way up the spiral staircase. It was like 3 minutes of single shot.
The Protector, is that the one with the Thai guy?
Yeah. The guy who raises elephants and then his elephants are stolen and he flies around the world just beating the crap out of people. He's like, where the fuck are my elephants?
Tony Jaa, yeah.
Tony Jaa. I mean, but that movie has.
I wish I had the kung fu movie knowledge that you two have.
No, I don't have kung fu.
Well,
I definitely don't.
Tony Jaa is a Muay Thai fighter.
Yeah, that's a Thai movie, but also that it's kind of like confusing because The Protector, like that movie has several names. The Protector is one of them. And also there are two movies that are essentially the same movie, just like kind of like the scenes change. So, but both of them are fantastic. I mean, Tony Jaa is.
But yeah, I guess this is like, I think this is another point that I would like to make about this is that like as cool as like all the fatalities were to see, that there was a lost opportunity to have more interesting fights, like because everybody involved are all pretty good stunt workers, good martial artists. Actually, I don't know much about Josh Lawson, the guy who did Kano. Although he was hilarious as an actor, like I kind of enjoyed his role.
Yeah, I mean, I think he played a good Kano. I think all of the casting decisions were well made. I don't think anybody like didn't fit the character they were portraying in any way.
Other than maybe Louis Tan just being so underutilized as Cole Young.
Yeah.
But that's the role was just not great.
Yeah, and I mean, the things could have been cut out in editing, production, all that other nonsense, but still a great decision for casting.
Yeah.
I think having like some top named oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the script just needs to be would just need to be redone. I mean, they didn't even have a tournament,
Yeah, man, I was super disappointed with that. To be honest, man, I almost don't want to speak in this podcast because I was really like when we agreed to watch Mortal Kombat. To be honest, I thought I was gonna love the movie because I love the movie from the 90s, and this is by far my least favorite movies out of all the movies we've seen together. I mean, I would give it like a 3 out of 10. I mean, I thought the movie's complete garbage.
I mean, yeah, it's not that good. Like
I kind of like want to hear you guys speak about it to see if you guys have anything like good to say, because I thought it was like such garbage, man.
well, it's a garbage
I
story, really.
really didn't like it.
It's really
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
it's a nonsensical story. Like at least the 90s movie had like a plot structure to it. It
Man,
was
I thought the 90s movie was fantastic. I mean, for what it is, it's a martial arts movie. Like, it was one of the best martial arts movies to come from America, maybe the best like video game adaptation still to this day. I mean,
uh,
made it
I would say I would put Castlevania as the best right
well,
now.
I'm not counting Castlevania because that's cheating. It's Netflix and it's a show and it's anime. I mean, come
The
on.
Witcher,
We can't really compare it.
Which was pretty
No,
good
no,
too.
I'm not counting the Netflix stuff. I'm saying like
Henry Cavill.
I don't know if I said movies, but I meant the movies, like the movies. Yeah, I mean, The Witcher. You can't. Yeah, I mean, The Witcher is by far, the best. But and Castlevania, but I'm not talking about those Netflix like really good adaptations. I'm talking about like movies, like from Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Tomb Raider, the original one.
Tomb Raider was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Tomb Raider was very popular.
And it was kind of enjoyable. The first one with Angelina Jolie. I wouldn't say that one. That was for what it was. It was pretty enjoyable.
I guess.
The first Resident Evil wasn't bad, like the first movie. Then after that,
Well,
it atrocious.
hold on. I want to stop you there because I was going to say the Resident Evil movies, if anything, is a fantastic source to cite for movies that translate horribly from video games.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Like,
I'm talking about.
I think Resident Evil especially left like a horrible taste in my mouth for like what like a video game movie will end up being.
No,
it just like lowered the bar.
No, I think they can't even really be considered movies, at this point. I mean, there was like
What, the Resident Evil movies?
Yeah, I mean, they're so horrifically bad but the first one was good. After that was I can't even talk about it. But the first one was
sure. I mean, I guess like as a movie itself, it had problems in its own right. But I think the thing that would upset me as a fan of the, like the source material, a fan of the games that I played as a child, was that like the movies just diverge from the games so much that like
it's a different
you're like, this sucks. It's like completely different. They just slapped the same name on it.
Yeah, it's basically just slapping the same name on something and making something else. The Silent Hill movies kind of did the same thing. And as someone who's a big fan of those games, like I've always been like, there's a way to do these right, people. Come on.
Yeah, but that, and I thought, Mortal Kombat, because I had seen the trailer. The trailer looked amazing with the Jax thing, like he was like, with the Sub-Zero scene with Jax. That's probably like one of the best scenes in the movie, like when he breaks his arms off. Like, I think they showed maybe a part of the scene with the Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. I mean, the trailer looked like really good. Like it was going to be a fantastic movie.
I didn't watch the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it looked amazing. It looked really good. And then, it was for me personally. I want to hear you guys talk about it really, because I have only really bad things to say about it. Like, except for the first scene, I thought it was going to be an amazing movie when I saw that first scene with Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. That was
a beautiful. That was a great scene. And then like
that was a great scene.
They're reinterpreting Scorpion's hook ability as a actual rope dart, which in Kung Fu is a legit move. And you've seen very little adaptations of what a rope dart form is. It's actually a very complicated but very adaptable form of martial art. Jackie Chan has adapted it in a couple of his movies. In Shanghai Noon, he did it with a rope and a horseshoe. But it's literally a fighting style and weapon style of basically you wrapped yourself around in certain points of the rope, and then by like kicking your foot and moving your arms in certain ways, it like fires out the dart and using the movements and stuff. It's so beautiful. And I was like, that is an amazing way to reinterpret Scorpion.
That was a really cool fight scene.
And I was just like,
it was bad.
So by the end of the movie, I'm just like, what happened? Like,
it was a scene that they had that was really good. And then, I mean, for me, like everything that came after that, it was, I had trouble even like finishing the movie, to be honest. Cause
I'm like, oh, is the through line of this movie gonna be about the Scorpion's revenge on Sub-Zero? and I was waiting for that, and like we don't really get that at all.
No, I think this movie definitely sets up for a Mortal Kombat 2. Like at the
Yeah.
end when what's his face is like, I'm going to Hollywood. And they're like, what's in Hollywood? And then you see the Johnny Cage poster, like obviously teasing Johnny Cage.
Right, and then always saying that death is only another state is
another setup. The fact that they didn't actually have the tournament.
Yeah.
It's so puzzling to me that you would make a Mortal Kombat movie and you would not do a Mortal Kombat tournament, when that's the whole, like you're saying before, Ian. I mean, it's not that Mortal Kombat is something that it's plot heavy, especially in the 90s when they made the movie, there was probably no plot at all. They just came up with like some backstory for the characters for the tournament, but just by from the game alone they probably didn't really have much material. But in this case, it's sort of the opposite. Now they have all this material that has developed over the course of like almost 30 years, right? And they made a movie that completely, I mean, there's no story. I mean, all the story, like, it was, honestly, I thought it was painful. I don't know if you guys had like the same reaction, but when they were doing like their exposition dialogue, I mean, it sounded so ridiculous, everything that they were saying to me, like the plot. I mean, it was just nonsensical. It was like laughable, really. And then there was no tournament, which was the whole point. Like, I thought, isn't that the whole point of the thing?
Well, I just like how Shang Tsung is like, I've seen their champions. They're not good. You'll win easily, but let's ambush them and murder them anyway, because like it's like he already is like, yeah, we're gonna totally rule this tournament. And then he's like, but we don't need to do that anyway. Let's just go and kill them anyway. It's just like, what? Like, it just made no sense.
I would definitely agree that like it doesn't have a strong plot, and I didn't go into the series or the movie expecting one. I expected, top-notch fight scenes, which I would say I got, and
some brutal action.
I expected some brutal action, some blood and guts, which I feel like Mortal Kombat is the perfect vessel with which to do that in a lot of other movies nowadays. If you really want to explore that, I think it's become a lot more stigmatized. Like, that was definitely like the trend in the 90s, to have like over the top gore and violence, but you don't see a whole lot of it nowadays. And I think the movie, takes its golden opportunity to entertain that.
I like how Kano is like, "Did you see me take that guy's heart out?" Like,
he's like, "That was fucking cool," and then he's like, drawing a picture of it.
Like that kind of
Kano fan art.
It's just like that kind of stuff. Like, I appreciate it. It's just it's weird how they executed everything. But I think you're right. This does seem like they're setting up for the future. They're setting up for the return of Bihan as a noob Cybot. In the original lore, the first Sub-Zero dies and comes back as like,
which is just an anagram of Ed Boon.
Yeah. Well, Ed Boon and John Tobias. Yeah.
Yeah, they anagrammed their name
right
to make noob Cybot.
There will be another Sub-Zero, but I just was like thinking to myself, it's like, why wasn't this just a tournament where the reigning champion was Sub-Zero, who'd won 9 tournaments in a row, and you slowly discover like the past history between him and Scorpion? And it's like there's I feel like, but maybe they're saving the tournament for another one, because Sonya gets her mark by killing Kano.
Right. I mean, I think it makes sense because Mortal Kombat as a franchise has got like 100 characters.
Right.
Like every iteration of Mortal Kombat does a very good job about introducing new and original characters, in addition to like unlockable characters. Right. I think especially in like the glory days of Mortal Kombat, being able to like double the cast of a game by unlocking them was like, most of the fun. That's like why you played the game on your own time.
Right.
As opposed to playing it with friends.
Like, it took like the weirdest set of circumstances to be able to fight Reptile and get him. I forgot what.
Yeah. like you could technically play as Akuma in Street Fighter 2, but you had to do it through like some cheat code. You had to do like some cryptic shit for it.
Mhm.
But I think that's going to be another luxury that the next movie chooses to explore is
Well, hopefully they.
introducing the cast. Like they're going to introduce a whole new slew of characters in each one, but I think they're going to keep the same core cast.
Well, I hope they introduce and talk more about Outworld and the other worlds. I mean, they didn't even bother having Katana in this.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, there was like no world building.
Do you guys think there is going to be a next movie? Because I think that
Yes, I definitely do.
if
It's
this
almost
came out,
already made back its budget, and I think the only reason why it didn't is because Demon Slayer released in the States as well at the same time, and that was the biggest international release of the year in Japan at least, and so everyone was anticipating that here for a long time. Um, so I do think, I mean, it's gonna it costs like 55. It's made already 51, and this is just box office, so we don't know how you count the streaming like profits from it too. But it'll likely double or maybe even triple its budget. I mean, they only made it for 55 million, and so
okay,
my
yeah,
guess is that there's apparently thoughts that they might want to do like a lot in this, and we might end up with many multiple Mortal Kombat movies.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if they do, if they do like a full trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope they don't stretch it past that.
I think it all comes down to finances. Honestly, I don't think they have any concerns in terms of artistic validity. I think the first one, the first one did pretty well, and then they made a second one. The second one was horrible, and it also
So
bombed.
bad.
I
You guys
mean,
remember the CGI in that one when they did the animalities? Oh my god, that was so bad.
Yeah,
it was so bad, and it was almost worse than this one. And that one bombed in the box office as well, and so they didn't make any more. And now it's been long enough that they want to bring it out again. So I think it really depends on how much money they make.
They've
So
already made more than Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
so if this one is doing well, yeah, I mean for sure. I mean I don't think, yeah, I think it's not even a question. Probably, I mean they're probably already thinking about making a second one.
Yeah, hopefully we get a tournament. And
Hopefully we get a tournament in the second one.
I was told like one thing that I guess I was totally preparing for Cole Young to be in to all of a sudden inhabit the spirit of Scorpion and become Scorpion
mhm.
to like in basically like channel his ancestor.
Well, see, that would have been cool. I like there was
Yeah,
nothing like
and
I mean,
and then they just
it
give him
was
plot
such a
armor, like
bad
literal plot
character.
armor. I still can't believe.
It
I
was
feel like
such a bad
like a
character.
joke.
Like it was so ridiculous how bad of a character he was. He was by far the worst character. I mean, he was like the most boring guy. He was like a terrible fighter. He couldn't even win against a normal MMA guy, let alone against the most powerful, theoretically the most powerful fighters in the world, in the universe. Not
Yeah, but then he's able to disembowel Goro.
yeah. He
Right.
just also the whole MMA fight for $200. I mean, there's so many things in the plot that makes no sense. Like like okay, even if you're really bad, you're not going to be fighting. Like apparently he's like a former world champion that is now taking fights for $200. I mean, in MMA, it makes. I mean, it's just not. It
I
makes no sense. It's
I feel
not.
like they threw that in there because they're like, oh, MMA is in now. All the kids like MMA, so he's got to be an MMA fighter. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like,
Well, no, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying if you want to make him an MMA fighter, yeah, sure, but at least make it a little bit realistic, like the whole thing that he was like a former world champion that is taking fights, one day notice fights for $200. I mean, makes no sense. Like all the injuries that he sustained in that fight, man, he probably would have had to spend a lot more money just than $200 just to recover. I mean, yeah, I mean, it, it was really bad, honestly. But it seems that you guys liked it a little bit more than I did. So
I think because we grew up. I mean, I grew up playing the games.
yeah,
And
me
so,
too.
like
And I
seeing
loved the first movie.
and so seeing. I mean, just to me, it's just like this one more than the original movie. Like tried to like put on screen like the stuff that we saw in the games. I mean, Kung Lao's hat. I mean, Liu Kang doing all of his fire thing and doing the flying kick, like the flutter kick, and Kano's laser eye.
I was really hoping at the end for a sting where they would just have Ed Boon like Toasty.
Unfortunately, he's not actually involved in this, and I think that maybe that was to the movie's detriment.
I mean, that's fine. I just wanted the Toasty.
Yeah, that would have been
Like
cool.
if they had just snuck it in at the end, it would have cost them almost nothing, but it would have made me so happy.
Sort of like was it when they did that Evil Dead movie with Jane Levy? Like at the very end of it, you just like at the end of the credits, you just see Bruce Campbell show up for just going groovy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, that it didn't probably cost much. I don't know if they even had to pay Bruce Campbell to do that, but
Was that the remake?
The sort of pseudo like they still talk about like
with the girl. The movie
yeah, they still talk about eventually crossing them over. I actually really liked that one. That they
oh yeah, I really like that one.
And but like to Ian's point, like it wouldn't have cost much to have to put that in there, considering all the other stuff they had as a throw-in, like homage to the game. You know, I don't know. Maybe to me, it's like I see that James Wan produced this but didn't direct it, and I'm like, kind of wish you directed this, James Wan. He's got a flair for this kind of thing.
I think it would have been a completely different movie. I don't think James Wan is a pretty good director. I can't imagine James Wan would direct something like this.
Right, but like the guy who directed it, basically his this is his first movie, and his background is he directed commercials. And so,
oh, I can see that. See, I can see that. Like James Wan, yeah, I don't think we would have gotten this movie with James Wan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like that makes sense because this movie doesn't have any single theme or scene that you really need to follow long term.
Right. Right. And you know, this is probably where, because you see a great cast, you see actually pretty good writers involved, which is strange. But then like a director who directed commercials before this, maybe they ran out of money and they're like, we need to get somebody to do this.
Well, I mean, you know, some directors, I mean, that's actually not a very unusual career path, right? Because David Fincher started out as a commercials director and directing commercials, and David Fincher, Zack Snyder, I think, as well, you know. So I mean, it's not super uncommon these days, you know. For the problem is like, yeah, I mean, maybe he's not a bad director. I don't think, I mean, I think like I imagine, like I don't know if this is the case, but I imagine he just got the script and he was basically a director for hire and they told him what to do. I imagine, I don't know. Like
right,
that
a director needs to have input on the script. Like,
yeah, his first movie, David Fincher, he was that just a director for hire for Alien 3, and the movie sucked. So because he couldn't really do anything that he wanted to do. So a lot of the times it's like that. So I don't really want to blame the director, but yeah, I don't think it would have been like this with James Wan because he is someone who has a name and he would have had input.
I mean, James Wan has made some pretty cool movies out of stuff that I never knew. I never felt like would make a good movie. I mean, you never thought that, like, you know, Saw. You know, the guy goes from Saw to Furious 7 to Aquaman. I mean, this guy can he can take properties and put them on screen and do a lot of great stuff with it. So
he's a talented guy, yeah, for sure. But man, I think
he would have cost too much. He would probably cost too much for this. He might have doubled their budget. Just
yeah. I just think that this movie is so ill-conceived. That's really the problem, really, because I mean, if they had done something like the '90s, just basically a remake, but you don't need to do the same thing. But basically, have a tournament, and have cool characters go at it. I mean, people are not really expecting much more than that from Mortal Kombat movies, and you can make amazing. You do a little bit of character backstories, you do a little bit of like cool fights, and I mean, look, you're gonna get an entertaining movie. In
Yeah.
this case, they just skipped the tournament altogether. I mean, it to me, it's like mind blowing.
Again, I just go back to that. Like, man, that first 7 minutes, I'm like, man, lean into that a little bit more. Like, add in more of the martial arts you saw in that, and have this centuries long rivalry. Like, I was like, man, what if the story is that Outworld just keeps on losing because of Hanzo Hisashi? Like,
Dude, when I saw that first scene, I thought it was gonna be an amazing movie.
yeah, like that first scene is like, holy crap, this is like.
I thought it was gonna be a fantastic martial arts movie with fantastic fights all the way to the end.
I mean, to me, I still got the like brutal vibe, like the stuff from the game. Like, it's the stuff that I wanted to see more of from the '90s movie. Although '90s we got a lot of the great campiness. This is the part where you fall down.
Dude, Liu Kang. So I'm gonna. Okay, so now instead of just saying bad things, I'll try to balance it out. I did like. So I'm gonna start with the good. I did like Kung Lao a lot. I thought he was really cool, and I thought that the best scene in the movie, other than the Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight, was his fight against the Flying Girl, and yeah, the fatality.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool scene.
And then he goes, flawless victory.
Oh, and he says flawless victory at the end, which, I mean, come on, that was really good. And then, but then really shitty, Liu Kang is like terrible, man. I mean, compare him to the guy from the '90s. Like in the '90s, that Liu Kang was such a cool character in that movie. And this guy is like, there's something wrong with Liu Kang in this movie. I mean, he's
I didn't mind. I didn't mind Liu
like
Kang.
a wimp, like it's not right. There's certainly something that is not right in like is he like, I think he's like not muscular enough, maybe, except like when he's flexing. I think he looks like really small. I think that's
but that's the thing. Liu Kang is supposed to be basically an homage to Bruce Lee, who's small.
Yeah. Oh, way. But Bruce Lee, you look at Bruce Lee in the movies, man. I mean, he's
he's still like in stature. He's very small.
No, but this guy looks small altogether. He looks like small in stature, but like skinny as well. He doesn't look imposing. Like Liu Kang is an imposing guy in the games, and he looks like the guy in the '90s. The guy in the '90s, like, yeah, he's not like huge, but he's like, he has muscles and stuff. Like
From my recollection in the games, Liu Kang was always like one of the smaller characters, but his abilities were fast and they hit quick, and then he had the fireball, which
Well, he's my favorite character in the game, so
yeah.
that the way I imagine him in real life is like the guy that, like the way they did it in the '90s movie, and he's the main character, by the way, in that movie. He's which maybe that's one of the reasons I like the movie, because I think Liu Kang is
I do wonder if Lewis Tan
this like Cole guy. I mean, it's not comparable. But I did like the fact that he had the fireball and he threw it at Kane. Kano.
Yeah, and the just tripping Kano over and over. I just keep going back to that. That was.
Yeah, no, that was
low kicked.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very clearly some people who understood that the game was always highly exploitable, because like certain moves were just like bullshit.
Totally. I mean, if you can't block, I think it also just references that like some of the early games were super broken.
I just remember when they added Striker to it, and you had that grenade throw, and you could just spam that over and over, and people just couldn't get near you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I played the very first one. I played like the third or something like that. By the time I got into it, it was already pretty good, or at least I thought so. I think I've never played a fighting game more than Mortal Kombat back in the day. It was for the Genesis.
For me, it was more Street Fighter because it was a little bit more balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. I played both, but I Mortal Kombat was probably the one that I played the most, and I love because I had, back in the day you had to buy the book, so like you would have like all the special moves, the fatalities, and all that, and it was basically I basically just studied that stuff so I could do all the tricks with the characters because it was not because I wanted to win, but because it was cool, and then I wanted to do all the fatalities.
Right.
Yeah, I never quite got quite that into it with the Street Fighter, but I mean, I also love Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fatalities were like the attention getter of Mortal Kombat in its heyday, right? Like I remember seeing like angry mom anti-gaming commercials that featured the fatalities, and like I don't know what better endorsement you need for a game being cool than having an organization of moms that hates this feature of the game.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Mortal Kombat was really one of the games, maybe the game that exemplified like violence in gaming, and that the politicians were all crazy about it and saying that it was going to ruin people's childhoods and it was going to turn kids into like homicidal maniacs. And I think Mortal Kombat was like the biggest example of that. With some reason, I mean, yeah, the fatalities were pretty crazy, but
yeah, I mean, they're absolutely over the top, but like, I mean, that's always been Mortal Kombat's like charm.
Yeah, except
like you get to rip a guy's head off and you get the spine attached at the end.
Yeah, or like,
right, like that's the cool stuff.
Or like the Scorpion Hellfire Blaze, which they did that in this one.
Yeah.
I thought they got the violence right. I'll say that for the movie. I mean, it was a pretty violent movie, and they had some, like the Kung Lao scene was pretty gruesome. What else was gruesome? Like maybe the wife and kid being murdered in the very first scene. I mean, that was not so much gruesome, but yeah, pretty horrific.
I mean, Jax's arms,
yeah.
Just getting ripped off.
But the Kung Lao scene for me, that was the one.
Mean, I think all of it's like the gore is good.
Yeah,
like seeing Goro just get his guts ripped out.
Right.
Like people get stabbed in the face.
The next movie though, because
I would say so.
He is.
Yeah, I mean they basically wasted so many characters in this movie that they can't use anymore because they're dead.
Well, I guess that's why I'm like kind of excited to see the next movie, because I don't know who they're gonna like bring through. I think I'm hoping for like some of the more obscure characters. Like there was a robot in Deadly Alliance.
Yeah,
really cool. I don't remember his name. Mortal Kombat robot.
I mean, there's a lot of
Cyrax.
Yeah,
Cyrax was a cool character.
I mean, to me, like, there's still like, as far as like, there's still Katana, there's still Johnny Cage, there's still.
Johnny Cage is gonna do the dick punch in the next movie. It's got to. That's a mandatory.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, he needs to do it. Yeah. Did he do it? Did he do it in the movie from the 90s?
Yeah, he did it to Goro, and it didn't work.
Because Goro's a eunuch.
Oh man, that movie's so good. I think I'm gonna watch that movie again because I got a bad taste in my mouth.
I like that part where Kano comes out. He's like, "Hello, baby. Did you miss me?"
No, but like, what was I think I'm trying to think, and you mean Sub-Zero and Scorpion will return because there will be a new Sub-Zero, and then the current one who was in this movie will come back as Noob Saibot. That's I feel like that's a given at this point. Now, who will be the new Sub-Zero, we don't know, but like.
Did you guys like the comedy in the movie and like the Kano character?
I feel like I thought Kano was cool.
I feel like Kano was like, it was appropriate. Like I appreciated having him in there like that. I still don't know why they just didn't kill him at the beginning. Be like, well, this guy is obviously a terrible person to have.
Yeah.
A team. Let's just go with Sonya. you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it works for some people. Like for me, it didn't work. Like I thought he was like the most annoying character ever. I mean, it was for me like he was like ruining every scene he was in, and I was very surprised because I had read the only review I read was the IGN review, and they gave the movie like a pretty good score. I think it was 7 or 8, and they said the movie was pretty great. So uh, I mean, I don't understand what they saw in the movie, but they also said that Kano stole every scene he's in, and I just thought he was such an annoying character, and the tone for me, like, but I mean, this stuff is very subjective because you guys seem to have liked the character and the comedy. I mean, for me, it just didn't work. Like I thought it was like making fun of the whole thing, but in a bad way. Like it made it seem like it was ridiculous. And you don't want to be like I don't want to be reminded of how ridiculous the movie I'm watching is like every single, every 3 minutes. But
I think, yeah, it just depends. I mean, if one person thought that he stole every scene, and if you hated every scene, the same thing, then
yeah,
obviously it's going to
exactly.
color your opinion a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I think he was necessary because otherwise it's a pretty like unfunny movie. Like there's almost no humor in it other than like the cheesy shouting out like the fatality or flawless victory or get over here, like doing that,
Right.
or like I'm Sub-Zero, I am Scorpion now. I'm like, okay, why? But okay, I'm okay with it. Like I had moments where I was like, why? Wait, I don't care. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no why really.
Well, like I said, this movie is a movie that like the same thing elicits a hate and a love response to it. It's like I'll be like, why? Actually, no, I like that. Like I had a lot of moments like that in this movie where I was like, I want to complain about it, but then I find myself entertained by it. And so, it's not the best dumb movie ever, but it's an entertaining enough dumb movie for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like about as much as I expected from the movie. Uh, I expected some cheap entertainment. I didn't think it was going to compel me. I wasn't like expecting to be blown away.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting fatalities, kung fu, um, blood and guts, and like the staple characters.
Right.
I would say those all delivered,
Yeah,
but
you kind of got all of those.
yeah, those are like the 4 things that I would say this movie needed to deliver on, and it did.
And I think my mixed reaction comes from the fact that I went in with that, and then the first 7 minutes set me up for something better, and then it let me down. So maybe I should have just not raised my expectations after that first scene.
Maybe they should just not have that first scene at all, because it ruins the rest of the movie.
Maybe.
I mean, I definitely don't think it like ruins the rest of the movie. I think
No, I'm kidding. I'm just.
I think it gets you hype enough, and then there's like a nice payout. But the movie does not make you. The movie is not like a mental effort, right? This is cinema bubblegum.
Right.
Like you can sit there and chew on it mindlessly. It's not going to give you any nutrition or nourishment. You get the flavor. It's done after a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's to have fun. It's a movie to have fun. But I mean, yeah, I didn't have fun. I had fun with the one in the from the '90s. But some people have fun, and it seems that you guys kind of enjoyed it. So
I mean, I feel like we're gonna have the similar reaction to Space Jam. Maybe we'll enjoy that even more. Although you might not like it, Bruno. But
I'm pretty hyped for Space Jam.
I like the first one, but yeah, for me, I think the same thing is going to happen. But I'm already expecting that from Space Jam, though. I don't think you can do a good Space Jam too. It's not a movie that needs a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the original is good, but I think kids being able to grow up with it is kind of the thing. Like, whenever people bash on Star Wars now, I tell them, like, these Star Wars movies aren't made for you, right? Like the Disney Star Wars movies are made for kids now that are like 3 to 8 years old, because they're going to grow up watching them a couple of times, and like it's going to be the greatest thing ever because it's the first thing that they've ever seen.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, I think it's a little bit sad that Star Wars has become what it has become, considering it became, it started out as something that was so great and special.
I mean, I still think it's great and special for a lot of people. I just think that as something gets bigger, you're not going to be able to please everybody with it.
And then when you try to, you end up falling flat.
Yeah, you're going to end up creating a platypus.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, they make money, so it makes sense to keep making them. And every once in a while, maybe there will be a good one. I'm still waiting for it. I'm still waiting for a good Disney Star Wars movie for me.
I'm just more or less, at this point, I'm more excited about the Knights of the Old Republic remake.
The game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a wise expectation. It's better to be excited about that, I think.
I mean, granted, I got way too much other stuff to play, but regardless.
I mean, I did enjoy The Mandalorian, which is not a movie, but it's a Star Wars TV show, so I guess it's not.
And as Ian, I think you would agree, well, that The Mandalorian is made for us. It's not kids.
For sure. It's definitely not a kid's show. It goes heavier on using previous world building, which is what fans like us are more interested in seeing.
Yeah, sort of like this, and I would, to bring it back to the Mortal Kombat movie, I mean, this movie was made for people who probably just wanted to see their characters brought to life on screen. It's a series of commercials put together.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel that you can do a better job, right? I think the 90s, I think that was, in my opinion, I don't know what you guys think, like if you have to compare the
first 90s movie is definitely better than this one.
Yeah, like to me, that's without a doubt, like from my perspective, without a doubt, a much, much, much better rendition of Mortal Kombat than this
But
one.
I would still put this movie way above Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the second movie that came out. That movie is just unwatchable to me.
Yeah. It might be unwatchable, yeah.
I mean, that whole final act with the animality is just like,
I mean, it's just very bad, yeah.
It's so bad.
But I don't know if I would watch this movie again, so I don't know. I would have trouble saying which one is worse for me.
I mean, I feel like I don't really watch. I mean, the only one I will have watched multiple times will probably be that first one, is because, like, we used to probably play it at every slumber party I went to as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every time I'd stay over, like someone put it on. Hey, let's just watch Mortal Kombat. Like, yeah, let's watch Mortal Kombat.
Great movie, man. It's a great movie. I think every kid liked it in the 90s, pretty much.
There's like that movie, the DuckTales movie.
Yeah, great.
Well,
I watched mostly the show, but is the movie? Yeah, I watched the movie as well.
That's the movie's one with the genie.
Yeah. Look, I even like the Street Fighter movie, which was a terrible movie. I still liked it as a kid.
Oh, Raul Julia.
Right, because you were a kid.
Yeah, but it was somewhat enjoyable. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, but everything was better when you were a kid because you didn't have bills, you didn't have responsibilities, and like the world hadn't crushed your soul yet.
And fan services was enough to make you enjoy something. Like, you had someone who just acted the shit out of being M. Bison and Raul Julia. It's a shit movie, but man, all the
standards were lower, frankly, and but it also it's kind of a, I don't know. I would have to watch it now again. I remember it being pretty bad, but being fun, fun to watch. Like, my
issues with it is when I look back on it, is like, man, was that not a well cast movie? I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile, it was just dumb. Like, you're casting a guy who has one of the most thickest accents to be like an American soldier hero.
But he always played an American. They didn't care.
Never
They
understood.
didn't care about that. They didn't care in the 90s. They didn't care about that. They only cared about the fact that he was a big star for
I mean,
action.
yeah, I think in the 90s and stuff, in 80s, it didn't matter as much. Like when Sean Connery
Like
was,
Arnold usually played American characters.
yeah, I'm just thinking like other times they did that, like when they was it the Highlander, when Sean Connery was the Spaniard Ramirez.
Wasn't he a Scottish guy?
Yeah, but the character was the Spaniard was Ramirez. That was his character's name.
Well, I've seen that so long ago that yeah.
And then Christopher Lambert was the Highlander, and he's a Belgian actor with a very like Flemish.
Oh, really? I've seen that when I was like probably 10, so I can't really speak to it. But that's funny. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess my guile complaint should be withdrawn then.
Well, it was the 90s, man. But I mean, it certainly is a valid complaint. It's just that they didn't really care.
Yeah. They just cast somebody who could reliably fight on screen.
Yeah, and sell, because Van Damme back then was a big star in the 90s.
Yeah. He's got his own TV show now.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. But in the 90s, he was he was a big star. He was in Kickboxer, Bloodsport. There's that movie, when he goes to like that island to fight. It was a fight island sort of thing.
Wasn't that Bloodsport?
That was Bloodsport, true, but this is a different one. This one was set like in the 1900s. I don't remember the name.
Hunger Games.
No, let me Google it.
Battle Royale.
No, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Let's see. What's the name of the movie? I love that movie. It was called The Quest. The Quest.
Oh yeah, I remember The Quest.
Yeah, 1995. I used to love his movies. Legionnaire from 1998 that he joins the French Foreign Legion, probably as an American. I don't know. Probably. Universal Soldier. I mean, he was a huge star. Cyborg. I remember watching these movies and thinking they were fantastic.
Yeah, you should go back and rewatch them.
No, I can't. I don't want to destroy.
You should.
Actually, I think Bloodsport.
The nostalgia goggles are a one-way vision. Once you take them off, you can't put them back on.
I do believe actually Bloodsport
Bloodsport is still good. I've seen it after growing up, and it's still good.
I mean, I don't think like it was actually good to begin with, but it was something that it's still enjoyable because man, the fight scenes were incredible.
Yeah, I mean, those are still enjoyable martial arts movies. Yeah, some of them. They're certainly not as enjoyable. Like in the 90s, they were like glorious, These were like glorious movies. Now they're like, yeah, but they're still enjoyable. Why was he not cast in the original Mortal Kombat? Because he was the inspiration for Johnny Cage.
Probably because he was doing Street Fighter. Because wasn't it around the same time?
Oh yeah, that's probably what happened. Or maybe they just couldn't afford him.
Yeah, they really didn't have any actors who were known in that first one.
No, I don't think so.
I'm trying to think who was in it that I can recall now. Bridget Wilson as
cast. Was she famous, Bridget Wilson?
She was in a lot of rom-coms for a while at that time. And like I said, Christopher Lambert as Raiden.
Oh yeah.
But otherwise, I really can't think of any of the other actors.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think they were famous. I'm looking at the actors here, and the names don't sound familiar. Well, that was something that Street Fighter had. You know, Jean-Claude Van Damme would sell the movie if it's a martial arts movie.
Right, but then you also had what is it? Raul Julia and as Bison, Ming Na as Chun Li. It had a bigger cast, definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, I mean, it did good.
Kylie Minogue was Cammy.
Oh, really? Wow. It did good business. It made $100 million from a $35 million budget. So it's pretty good business.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat did even better, 120 out of a $20 million budget. So, but yeah, they had a smaller budget. Yeah, it came out of they came out around the same time, so they were kind of competing against each other. Street Fighter was 94, and Mortal Kombat was, but at the very end of 94, and Mortal Kombat was 95. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like making the movie, casting it, yeah, he probably couldn't have been in both of them. Maybe he got offered the both movies, and he chose Street Fighter because they paid him better or something. I don't know. But he would have been like the obviously the logical choice for Luke Cage at the time. Wait, Luke Cage?
Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage, yeah.
Luke Cage is obviously something else.
Yeah.
Luke Cage is Jax.
Yeah. Essentially.
And I don't think I've ever seen a Street Fighter movie. I'm looking at like old frames from it.
I've seen it. I do not remember anything other than Raul Julia.
It's kind of enjoyable, but I don't know if it would be enjoyable now. Back then it was enjoyable, but it's not a good movie.
No, it's pretty awful from what I remember. I mean, I literally cannot remember the scene at all from the movie.
It
I
probably
remember their animated Street Fighter movies.
Oh, that was fantastic. The Street Fighter 2 movie, that was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, there was a Mortal Kombat cartoon TV show for a while that was pretty good, and like Saturday morning.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Mortal Kombat had some good stuff. That's why I was so well. Anyways, I already said that I was disappointed with this one. So, but yeah, I really like that stuff from. Yeah, the TV show was not bad.
Yeah.
At least for kids, you know, when you're a kid.
How many seasons did that have? I think that had like multiple seasons too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was enjoyable. I liked it as a kid. I mean, again, I wouldn't like it today, but I liked it as a kid for sure. I mean, I think I would still. I am gonna watch the movie to rewatch it, and I think it's still probably good today, even the movie today.
Only 13 episodes. Why do I remember this thing being longer than that?
I also remember being longer than that. Only 13.
Yeah.
Maybe they just like repeated the episodes again and again.
Maybe.
I mean, there was a lot less content back then. They did that a lot. Or at least it feels like they did.
Right.
All right. So before we end the podcast, any final thoughts? Did we miss something? I'm sorry. I was kind of a downer for this one, but I don't really know what to say other than bad things mostly about this movie.
I really don't think there's much more that we really missed about this. Like I said, I think in summation, it was it was a surprisingly, like, to me, watchable for certain things, but definitely disappointed that I feel like it could have been better, but it delivered on enough things that I, as a fan of the video games, that I'm okay. That I look at this, I'm like, okay, let's see what you do for the next one. Like, I'm willing to see what they do going forward if they can retain the cast based on what we've seen so far.
Well, I don't think the cast is going anywhere because they're pretty unknown for the most part. So,
actually, I think it would be pretty hard to retain Hiroyuki Sanada and Tadnabo Asano.
Yeah, maybe those two. Yeah.
Well, Tadnabo Asano works a lot in Hollywood now, though. He's like in the Marvel movies movies now. He's one of Thor's Warrior 3. So he appears in those movies quite a bit now.
What about you, Ian? What do you think?
I'm interested to see where they go with the next one. Mostly holding out for the Johnny Cage dick punch.
Yep.
Like,
if it doesn't happen, that'll be a bad movie.
No, it will
go
happen.
so far as to say
it will happen. It will happen. I would bet. I would place that bet.
With the way they delivered on stuff in this movie, I'm like, they're gonna give Johnny Cage everything that fans want from him. Especially if they're hyping him up like this.
Yeah, that's one good thing that I would say this movie had. It did deliver a lot of fan service stuff. The whole get over here.
The fatalities, applause victories,
the low kicks. I mean, they were trying to squeeze in as many as possible.
Oh, they definitely they're very generous with the fans on making sure that everybody felt like they got to see the thing they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I would be concerned with the series falling into a formula by the time they do a third one. If they do, I mean, I have no idea if a third one's going to happen, but I would like to see an evolution from here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see the same thing just with a tournament tacked on and new characters. I want to see maybe like a more developing plot. Like I definitely don't think it's hard to do.
I want them to go someplace more with Cole Young. Like I want it to be, I would almost be okay if they ignore that his superpower was a plot armor and have him like evolve into something else. Like again, become like the current iteration.
His Arcana.
Yeah, I feel like
can become new Scorpion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it happening.
It's very easy. You just say, "Oh, your Arcana can change when your spirit changes."
Right. I mean, they already had
perfect.
They already had Arcana give you magical powers.
Yeah, but it's all made up stuff. It's all made up stuff, so it's very easy to do.
It's like it literally affects everything. It gave Jax better cybernetic arms.
Yeah. Like, he just grew robot arms.
The Jax thing was like kind of ridiculous. I didn't even get that. I mean, why they gave him like these weird little creepy arms
they gave him like
in the
little
beginning.
baby
And I was
arms.
like, what is that, man? What did you do? What did you do to Jax?
That was another moment where I was like, wait, why?
Why? What is that?
And then half a second later, I'm like, never mind. Like he's got his big arms now. I don't care.
Yeah, I was relieved. Well, like when he got proper arms, I was really creeped out by those little thingies that he had.
Really? Because as soon as I saw those, I was like, well, that's going to be his superpower. Is getting turbo arms.
I know.
Right, I just didn't realize that it was literally going to arrive from his.
When they gave him like fucking sticks,
they
gave him like little bionicle arms.
Yeah, it was really creepy. Because he's a big guy, so like for him to have like those little things, it was like being a T-Rex, but as a human. It was weird.
Yeah, man, it's the opposite of when people never do leg day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're stacked from the belt up.
Or belt down, or
no, when they never do leg day.
Oh, never mind. I thought you were saying the opposite of people who like people who only do legs.
And I was kind of like scared for him because I thought he was gonna get big arms, but I wasn't sure. Maybe it was just bad special effects. So I was a little bit. Oh, I hope.
I mean, it's all special effects, Bruno. It's Hollywood.
No, but I meant I was thinking maybe it was just bad special effects.
Oh.
I thought he was gonna get proper arms, but I wasn't 100% sure.
You thought someone looked at those twigs and was like, "That's Jax."
Yeah, I guess. I thought he was gonna get proper arms, but I was a little bit scared for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's those are my thoughts on the affair.
All right. Well, I already said a lot of bad things about the movie, so I think they get the point. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back with another podcast soon enough. Thank you.